just ask it.
Okay, thank you. Good afternoon, welcome. I call to order this special meeting of Scottsdale Unified School District Governing Board. The date is Friday, April 13th, 2018. The time is 3:09. We'll start with a roll call from my far right.
Sandy Kravitz.
Allison Beckham.
Kim Hartman.
Barbara Perleberg. Did I hear that board member Kirby is calling in, or
No,
she's
not.
absent? She's
absent.
traveling. Okay. So we have 4 board members present. Board member Kirby is absent. If you will please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay, we'll get right to the reason we're here today. Action item 3A, approval of revised language for certified staff contracts for 2018-2019. Dr. Sitton.
Sure, I'll go ahead and get us started, Madam President, members of the board. Dr. Chestnut filling in today for us. We are proposing that we remove the language that referenced having the amount to exceed 4% to the 10% if the state were to come through with additional dollars during the budget process, and replace it with language that just leaves it open that the board can determine what that amount is and does not have any of the salary range within that language.
Okay. All right. Did we have any questions? Obviously, we have Ms. Marshall here as well. Board Member Beckham?
And I don't mean to put you on the spot because I just asked you this in case you don't, but because in the board meeting, we described various increases, percentage increases. And I think part of what came out was it was a 3.5% increase and people were expecting that. Can you just explain once again?
Sure.
And then let them know that you did send out a communication to the teachers directly regarding that? Thank you.
So the salary amount that shows on the contract has added the 0.5 base that was put in, and if they're eligible for the 2% step, which is equivalent to 2%, that's in there. So for those that were eligible for the step, their amount is 2.5% higher than last year's contract. The 1.06, which we were anticipating from the state, comes out in the fall as a stipend, the same way we did it this past fall. Also, no supplementals are included at this time. So our EPAR is open probably within the next week or two, but they'll put them in for July 1 if someone's going to coach or do some of those things. Those cannot go in until July 1 is when they're processed, and then that comes as a separate supplemental in the new year.
All right. Board Member Hartman?
Just 2 quick questions, and thank you for addressing this so quickly, Dr. Sutton. One clarifying question, back to board member, your response to board member Beckham. I just want to reiterate that 1.06% stipend, that is cumulative. So if it was 1.06 last year, it's now 2.12 this year?
So Dr. Virgil had shared in the initial budget proposal, which is not adopted yet with the state, it did have the $30 million for last year, which gave us that 1.06 for classroom teachers. This year, their proposal has it as $60 million, which would double that. So, but with the announcement yesterday, I don't know where all that's going to land as of yet because they haven't defined teacher. When they did that initial 1.06, it is truly defined as a classroom teacher out of the 1,000 code funding. So we're still waiting to hear that.
Okay. Our understanding, based on state statute, is it was supposed to be built into the base, though, for the period of 10 years, because it's really Prop 123, correct?
They've only funded it last year,
Right.
and they did not include it in the base last year. So
Well,
we
I
have
know-
heard conversation about it moving to the base now. That 1.06 was not part of the base.
Right, it's a
Last year.
stipend.
Yes.
But what I took away from the last meeting, because I tried to ask it a couple different ways, is that it's still cumulative. It doesn't go in the base, but it's 1.06 plus 1.06 plus 1.06 if it's approved each year.
Correct.
Okay. I just want to make sure that I'm understanding this correctly, because there's always a lot of questions that we get regarding compensation, and am I really getting it or not getting it? And I think we have to do it because it's the way the state funds the dollars, so we have to fund it base versus stipend, and I can only imagine what the paycheck stub looks like, so it's probably is confusing. Okay. And then just one last question, and just so that there's clarity around it. So based on the very new information that we're receiving from the governor that does not have a lot of detail on it on the future compensation increases, the cumulative 20%. This wording allows for all of whatever that is at our discretion, being the board's discretion.
So I'm going to ask Ms. Marshall to reply to that
Okay.
from the legal standpoint, that this wording allows us to go whatever the board wants to address as far as a % increase for teachers based on the state budget. They're allowed to do that with this wording.
You don't have to.
I'm good, okay. Yes, it does. To give you a little bit of background here, our contracts have had for many years language that allows the district to cut salaries should budget not be there. There's also a clause in the Arizona State Constitution called the gift clause. And some would argue that if we didn't have increased language after we'd already offered a sum certain to teachers for the work that they're doing, that we could not increase their salary without violating that gift clause. They call it a gift of public funds. So the intent of the language from the beginning, the 4% and 10% language, as well as the current language, was to allow the district to be able to provide increases to teachers should we get new funding or find available funding after having offered them their current salaries. This language allows you to do that and determine what percentage you will give.
Okay. Can I ask one last question? Did we communicate or share information with any of the other kind of nearby districts in the language that they're using so that, just wondering how similar or different ours might be?
I might defer to Susan Siegel, our outside counsel, who provided us with this proposed language without the percentages in it, as she'll be able to tell us, I think, what other districts have done with this similar kind of language.
Okay. You just appeared at times, Susan. It's kind of new.
On
We
a
were
Friday
working on
afternoon.
other things.
On a Friday afternoon.
We were working on other things, so I asked her to join us.
So, Madam President, members of the board, this language was actually crafted by my law partner, Jennifer McLennan, but our law firm, Jennifer and Rob and I, who I think have met, represents a number of school districts, and this is language we commonly have used. The 2006 Attorney General opinion was crafted when I was at the AG's office. I helped write that. Of course, it was signed by Attorney General Terry Goddard. But this is a common clause that we used from the time that we were uncertain as to what the legislature was going to allow. And it does address the gift of public funds issue in Article 9, Section 11 of the Arizona Constitution.
Thank you. That's helpful.
Thank you. All right. Any additional questions or comments, Board Member Beckham?
I guess I just need clarifications on this, the public funds issue. Is that why actual numbers were put in the original language? It kind of made it sound that way.
I'll defer to Susan again. I haven't thought about that, but.
And I misspoke. It's Article 9, Section 7.
I thought so.
Okay, I'm sorry. You knew. This was based upon, generally upon the Attorney General's opinion that it wasn't a gift of public funds. Of course, if you wanted to completely double salary based upon this, a grant from the state legislature, which I think is highly doubtful at this point, that might bring into play, but you're fine on this one. So I think to address your issue, this is safe and it's good, and it means that you have an intent to pass on what the legislature allows you to pass on to the employees, depending upon the groups that they designate.
So the actual numbers that were in the contract had nothing the 4% really weren't
Oh.
addressing public funds, or they were addressing?
I
public
think they
funds?
were
That was my
concerned,
question.
I don't know where they came from, to be
Oh,
honest.
okay.
I don't know where they came from. Maybe they tried to be conservative to avoid that, I'm speculating, which is dangerous. But maybe that was why the 4% came up, or the 10% lump sum. But you
It didn't
have
have
this
anything to do with the public
2006
funds issue.
opinion that allow you to go even higher than that, I think.
Okay, all right, thank you. We do have one more question.
Yes, Board Member Becker.
And it's not in that particular paragraph, it's in another paragraph that references the teacher employment handbook. Where can that handbook be found? I went to the website and I was having some difficulty finding it.
I would defer to Ms. Marshall on that one.
Actually, I think
I'll
Dr.
answer
Sitton
that.
can tell us that one. I apologize, I don't know.
The handbook is in the iDrive, so it's
So
not.
teachers would need to go to the iDrive?
Yes, to the
Okay.
iDrive, under HR certified.
Okay,
The
so
handbook's
it's
in
not
there.
available to the general public
No.
that I can get to?
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, you have, Allison can get to it.
If she can get into the iDrive, absolutely. Plus, it originally was sent to all governing board when we did the presentation.
And that's okay.
But
I
yeah.
was just, because
Yep.
I was asked this question about the handbook, and it made me think about, well, how accessible is it to the teachers? Because the question arose on, it's referenced in here, and this starts to give a lot of the, I won't call them, well, it does some of the rights, but the working conditions. And so I wanted to make sure that the teachers knew exactly where to find it. And I'm sure they know where to find it, I just didn't know where to find it.
So I drive under the Human Resources folder.
Certified,
Certified.
yep. Human resource folder, then certified folder.
Okay.
Any additional questions or comments? So I just want to, for clarity's sake, we did communicate to staff that those 4 and 10 numbers were not reflective of the board's
Intent.
desire, especially considering yesterday's news, so, which we're all very excited about. So this language does indeed give us the freedom, the flexibility to put as many dollars as we possibly can into our educators' hands. Correct? I mean, we have total flexibility with this language.
Yes, you do.
Is that accurate?
Yes, that's
Okay.
accurate.
All right, terrific. Board Member Beckham.
Boy, I just keep that going bing with little light bulbs going up. I understand that this was also sent out to the teachers so that they could review it, even though it was, because this was such short notice, but we were trying very hard to be timely. So that they did have an opportunity. So did you get any feedback from any teachers
So,
this
Michelle,
afternoon?
I did not send the language out to all teachers.
Right. I received a couple of emails, some, probably about 5, and definitely recognizing that this was very short notice, so not ideal by any means. The feedback I heard was, I had one that said, if there's no number in there and the board gets to decide, does that mean the board could decide nothing? I suppose that's true, but that was true under the other language and when you didn't have the language at all. There were some complaints about the short notice. I'm trying to think if there was anything else significant that I received. I think this one's very important. I did have one teacher say, what about those of us who've already signed? And so I responded to her and said, every teacher, whether signed or not, is going to have the new language offered to them. And that HR, I believe, is going to send out instructions shortly. I don't know if today or Monday.
Yeah, we'll probably resend them out Monday.
Okay. But we definitely will communicate to all teachers how to deal with it, whether they signed it or not. I believe 255 teachers had signed, so the majority had not yet. But we're going to make sure that they all understand how to do it.
All right, thank you.
Okay, Board Member Hartman.
And just a follow-up point to that short notice comment. I clarify, but I'll mention it. Dr. Sitton, you can clarify it again. Actually, teachers have another 15 days to sign this contract, so there's 15 days to look at it, just like any time. Is that correct?
Yeah, state
Yeah.
statute allows 15 days for them to review.
Okay. but no time like the present.
I agree, but, I'll just add too, we all recognize this was not an ideal situation to have to pull this language back. Mistakes were made, things happen, but I do appreciate staff's quick response, quick ability to just let teachers know that this will be corrected. And, yeah, it was fast, but we didn't want to leave it hanging out there as some big question for our staff for days. So I definitely recognize that, the benefit of today, so. All right, so do we have a motion, or are we prepared for a motion?
So moved.
Okay. I think Board Member Kravitz makes a motion to approve the revised language for the certified staff contracts for 2018, I believe. Do I have a second?
Second.
Thank you, Board Member Hartman. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye, motion passes 4-0. Thank you all.
I have another 3 hours. I
Motion
will
to adjourn. I make a motion to adjourn.
Second.
Thank you, Board Member Kravitz. All in favor?
Aye.
Motion passes 5-0.
4-0.
Enjoy, 4-0. Thank you. Good Lord, it's Friday. Thank goodness.
Thank you.
Happy
Now,
Friday,
before I
everyone.
forget,
Dr. Sitton, thank you.